The greatest problem of a lazy man is that he defaults in 3 levels. The first one is process, the second one is repetition, and the third one is orderliness. If you default in any of these 3, you can be categorized as someone that is lazy. A lazy man hates process. Process is how things are done. You do this, then you do this. That's process. A lazy man hates repetition because if you do this and then you do this, you have to repeat it daily. That is what repetition is. A lazy man hates orderliness because if you do this, you did this, and you do it repetitively, you must make sure it goes in a particular order, not haphazardly, but follows a sequence. A lazy man hates anything that will make an organized system to work. So a lazy man is the greatest problem of an organized system. That is why everywhere you go in the world and you see an organized system, there are punishments for those who are disorderly. Disorderliness means there is someone in there that is not a manager. A manager is someone that makes things to work. A manager is someone that makes resources go where they should go and be transmitted or transformed into the things that they should be used for. So there's a place in the Bible where it was said in Genesis that God had not made anything to grow out of the ground. Do you know why? He didn't make anything to grow out of the ground because there was no man to till the ground, to manage the ground. So the reason for trees, the reason for productivity on the earth, the reason for locomotion on the earth, the reason everything on the earth works is because there is a man or a manager to take care of it. So the earth works because there is a manager, or we have managers, humans, to take care of it. A lazy person is not a manager. A lazy person hates anything that will make him or her to enter into anything that will put a burden on his or her back. Because for you to manage, you must be a burden bearer. Burden bearing is the only way to manage. You must carry the burdens of people. You must carry the burden of making sure the resources go where they are supposed to go to. And how I will know if you are a diligent man is how your environment is at the moment. If there is any level of disorganization, haphazardness in your environment, it showcases a certain level of laziness or a lack of management from your own aspect. Management is the only way to know who is diligent and who is lazy. If you are a manager, your environment will reflect the skills that you have. If you are a lazy person, someone that is not productive, your environment will reflect who you are. Your environment is the truest form of yourself. So if your environment is haphazard, it shows the nature of the person you are on the inside. A lazy man does not like organization because it takes work to be organized. It's a lot of work. A lazy man does not know the way to the city because it takes a lot of work to know the routes. What a lazy man is fixated on is to get the result or tout the work. But every work on the earth is systematized. It follows the system. If you work, you will get the result. Every result on the earth follows the system. If you work, you will get the result. That is why a lazy man hates the day called today, because it comes rift or riddled, full of problems, full of different responsibilities. How a lazy man views work. Now, when I speak about lazy man, I'm talking about the entity. Whether you're a lazy man or a lazy woman, I'm using it as a lazy man for clarity. How a lazy man sees work, or a lazy person sees work, is as a burden. They don't see the work from the end. They see it from the start. I'm seeing a burden and I wish it to go away. A diligent man sees work and knows this is the result. He's looking at the results while the work is in front of him. A lazy man is looking at the burden without seeing the results. This is why every time responsibility comes on them, they shift it to the next day. Because the next day does not exist. It becomes very easy to throw things there, not knowing that eventually the next day will become today, which they hate. A lazy person dreads the day because it is full with work they do not have the enthusiasm to push forward. The solution to a lazy man's problem lies in process, that they become procedural. It lies in repetition, that they become a people or a person that does things in a repeated manner. It lies in orderliness, that they become a person or a people that do things in a very procedural, repetitive, and orderly manner. So from this thing, you should tell, am I a lazy person? Am I effective? Do things dry up in my hands? The last 2 leadership positions you had, how did it go? How long do things last in your hand? Do you waste things, or do they blossom in your hands? This is how to know, because the hands of a lazy man cannot hold water. Can't hold water. Can't hold any material effectively without it missing out. What keeps the world running is maintenance. It's maintenance. If you burn off the entire trees in the world, there will be problem. There will be problem. So the earth follows an equilibrium of balance. The humans give us carbon dioxide, plants give us oxygen. It's balanced. That is why the world works. So everything that makes the world to work is because there is a system that it follows. It's a system that does not work through emotion. The strength of a lazy person thrives or grows through emotions. Their emotions direct their life. They are slaves to their emotions. If the emotion doesn't feel like working, they do not work. They are obedient slaves of their emotion. But a diligent person knows that their emotions are tools they use to navigate the work in front of them. So emotions do not give them direction. They in turn direct emotion. So the reason why society sometimes breaks and scatters in some areas is because the people there are exhibiting lazy tendencies. When there are cracks in a foundation, when there are cracks in a society, if you trace the cracks intently, you will see that there is a lack of management in an area. Wherever you see cracks in society, is a lack of management. And if you look intently at the lack of management you are looking at there, you will see a lazy person or some lazy habits exhibiting there. So we must begin to be mindful of the tendencies we exude, because if you exude lazy tendencies, you will be a manager that allows things to crack and scatter. A house is kept strong because it is managed. If you do not manage the house will begin to leak. The roof will give way. Plants will grow in it. Rodents will enter and live with you. Management is what makes you an effective person. Management. And management is the greatest problem of a lazy person. So how you deal with the laziness problem comes from awareness. You know this is a problem and you want to deal with it. Awareness first before you start taking steps. In Proverbs, they spoke about the lazy man that will not even lift up his hands from his plate and put in his mouth. Or the one that says in another part of Proverbs that he can't go out because there is a lion on the way. Lazy people are masters of excuses. They are very good at it. Instead of me to work, I have a way to formulate anything. I have to find a way to formulate anything that can make me not work that day. The problem a lazy person does not know, or that he or she will have, is that eventually all they postpone to the future that they think will not come to pass will eventually come to pass. The tomorrow you're always pushing things to will still meet you. There come a time when the load of the tomorrows becomes too much, because you are not dealing with today. The load you are throwing to tomorrow will become too much. Proverbs 15 verse 19, he said that the way of the lazy man is like a hedge of thorns. His way is filled with thorns. But the way of the upright man, of the disciplined man, is like a highway. So you see, it is a thing of management. A lazy man or a lazy woman hates management. They do not like the idea that their life has to be cyclic. If you do not like the boringness of being a cyclic person, someone that shows up daily to do a particular thing over and over again, you will never gain mastery in anything. Mastery means you have to love the boringness of repeating things. You must love process. I come out by 7 o'clock and I play ball this way. You must love repetition. I come out daily and I do the same thing. You must love orderliness. I come out daily and I do it this particular way, not this way, not that way, this way. That is how to overcome laziness. If you see a man that is given to process, or a woman that is given to repetition, or any person out there that is given to orderliness, if you see them, you are looking at a manager, someone that will eventually bring out much fruit, much result from their life. So that is how to grow as an effective manager, an effective leader, a great contributor to your community. That is how to grow. You must fight all the strands of laziness you have. How you will know where laziness exists in your life is to check the areas that are spoiling, areas that have cracks in it, areas that are dusty, from your house to your mind to your relationship. Anything that is spoiling that you introduce process, repetition, and orderliness to, more often than not will start to work. From businesses that will not run properly to relationships that are about to spoil or to about to crack because of negligence, to buildings that have been abandoned for years. If you introduce process, repetition, and orderliness to it, it will always work out. For it is the person that knows how to live life in a systemic way that produces results. You can only be allowed to manage if you have the result of continuity. If continuity is your biggest problem, you might not ever get that chance to management, because people that manage are those that have been able to handle tangible things and they did not die in their hands. So work on yourself. Grow and get better. That is how you grow. Push yourself. Check every area of your life. Any area that you feel is cracking, spoiling, something is happening. Those are the places to look at. Ask yourself, is this spoiling? Is these things growing modes because of laziness, neglect? If it's not because of that, then fine. But if it is because of that, introduce these 3 layers to it and it will always work out. My name is Casey Outgrow and this is Purpose Driven Advocates. Stay with us.